So, yeah. So just so you know, this is recorded. You know, this is what we're gonna put on our YouTube and on Lovecraft Arts and Sciences. And it's an exciting time because this is not the first. This is not the first Trains reading I've done, but this is the first I've done for the Lovecraft Arts and Sciences.
Cool.
So I'm pretty excited. So yeah, and anyone who has an idea for like potential readers for for the series, just hit us up.
Well, you're speaking to a professional audiobook narrator at the moment.
Hey, you know what? Hit me up later and
I will.
Just please, because this is what we need. I would prefer that trans women narrate trans books.
Absolutely.
That's a whole other can of worms. So we won't get too deeply into that, But please, Catherine, just hit me up. Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah.
Will do.
All right, here we go. I'm sorry if I seem distracted. I'm just trying to admit people as they come in. Oh, a lot of people are coming in. This is lovely. This is so good. I was so surprised that like this would make such a big hit. So, whenever I have a prompt, I need to admit people. So I would like people to after the readings to participate if you have questions or just don't be shy.
Mm-hmm.
Hi everyone.
Gretchen.
Hey Kat, how's it going?
It's going really well. I saw you were going to be reading tonight. I was like, oh, I can't miss this.
There she is. There they both are. All right. Eve's here. I just want to make sure Hailey is here somewhere. Just bear with me a sec. Yeah, just like 6 o'clock on the dot. Dot on the kangaroo. Remember that movie. So y'all, I'm really happy you showed up. Can y'all hear me okay, or am I like speaking into the mute? Yeah,
I can hear you.
Good. Thank you. Thanks, Resh. Oh my God, that's your man. That's your man.
That's Lenny.
So cute.
Oh, black cat, only best. So, oh wait. Let me admit more people. Just bear with me. I think I'm going to be admitting more people as they go in. There we go. So unless anyone has any objections, I think we're just gonna go with the readers in alphabetical order. So Gretchen, that would make you the first victim. So, wow, everyone's got like black lipstick. I feel like I'm like totally remiss now. And damage.
Give me a second, I'll go get some.
I could go get some as well.
Because that's the fucking thing. I'm sorry, but this is a PG-13 crowd. I used to have the Body Shop, to get my lipstick at when they first trans in the 90s. So it's been like super strange. Just have to do Urban Decay, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
Classic.
All right. So if you can all bear with me, I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna not introduce you. I mean, except in the basic sense, but I would like each writer to maybe just give like, a basic introduction to the piece they're about to read, maybe a little bit about yourself, and your bios. I'm just gonna put in the chat. So, there we go. I'm not gonna be a millennial about this. So, Gretchen, would you like to maybe start us off, please? And,
So,
Riv is a new asshole.
yeah, happily. On that note, before I start, you mentioned this being a PG-13 event.
Oh, well, that only means, I meant that ironically.
Okay.
It's actually an NC-17.
Okay, fantastic.
Yes, please. Oh, please. The more gnarly you get, the more fun it is. Please.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to be reading from the second act of Manhunt, and this is the first perspective chapter of Ramona, the turf collaborator.
Please.
Just real quick, is there some way that I can stop that dinging?
Those are notifications for new participants, so I'm not sure how to turn that off. Because I'm Gen X.
Okay.
I would
Maybe-
say ignore it only because
I'll live with it.
You know what? It could be pretend it's like the Mormons like knocking at the door.
You got it.
Larissa, maybe if you mute yourself, it won't come through.
Let me try that.
There's a play, join, and leave sound setting that you can turn off.
Well, anyway, I don't want to gum things up for too long, so I am ready to jump in. Larissa, you just want to give me the thumbs up when I'm good to go? Fantastic. It was Ramona's day off, and Feather's bedroom smelled like sex and weed in Hunan Palace. The thick, sweet scent of plum sauce and the oily tang of scallion pancakes clung to their fingers and tongues. Ramona jammed half a soy sauce-soaked pancake into her mouth and chewed. "You can't get this in Baltimore," she mumbled through it, spraying golden crumbs, and laughed at herself. Weed made her stupid. It slowed everything down until her thoughts felt caught in crystallizing syrup. Feather, the big brown eyes, glassy and half-lidded, made a sleepy sound of assent. Ramona wondered idly where they kept their estrogen, if they had it squirreled away in a cool, dark cistern under the apartment building, or if they bought it from one of the city's freelance testicle collectors. They weren't really a tranny, not in a dangerous way. They'd had their balls cut off sometime before tea day, so there was no chance they'd catch it, even if they stopped taking their E. She couldn't imagine them like that anyway. Not soft, daydreaming Feather with their doughy arms and round face and untoned thighs. They could never have turned into one of those monsters. She swallowed, wiped her mouth with the back of her hand, and rolled over, throwing herself across Feather's legs and wriggling around until she could straddle them. They squealed and kicked and clenched her muscled thighs around their little belly and round hips. She bent to lick the bluish stretch marks on their upper arms, her blonde hair brushing their teacup tits. The spicy musk of their armpit flooded her nostrils as they squirmed underneath her. She pressed her face down into it, lunging across their body to nip at the tender skin and sweat-damp hair. "You taste so fucking good," she breathed. Feather giggled. The soft, smooth press of their flesh formed a seal around Ramona's mouth and nose as they squeezed their arms against their sides. She bit down, savoring their squeal of surprise and pain. She pressed the flat of her tongue to their sweaty skin, gripping their wrists as she did. They fought her. She pinned their arms against the rumpled sheets and licked the shivering, tender skin under their arm. Feathers shifted under her, their little cock pressed hard against her ass cheek. She rose up, hair falling across her face, and grinned at them as they whined, straining against her. Please, they whimpered. Please, Daddy. She ground against them, getting wet, growling low in her throat. Please what, Princess? Kiss me. Ramona dipped low enough to graze their softly pointed chin with her lips, then pulled away with a mocking laugh when they lunged at her, mouth open. She curled her lower lip, letting saliva gather between it and her gums, letting the resultant loogie dribble from her mouth to dangle glistening over Feather's face. She pushed her tongue against her lip and let the rope of cloudy sputum fall. It struck just above their parted lips and dripped into the dark, wet cavern of their mouth. Feather shivered with delight, their hands curling into trembling fists where they lay pinned to the threadbare sheets. She dug her nails into their wrists, grinding harder, smearing wetness on their cocks, their belly. Someone is playing Mountain Goats very loudly. Thank you, whoever that was. She dug her nails into their wrists, grinding harder, smearing wetness on their cock, their belly, the sweaty stretch of skin between them with its thicket of pale reddish curls. Her high was coming on in earnest now, washing her brain in a cool fizz of dissociative relief. Her limbs felt loose and clean and weightless. I'm dirty. You're a dirty girl, she murmured into Feather's ear, and she ran her tongue along the ridges of pliant cartilage. Pinea, concha, helix, antihelix. She heard in her bio teacher, Mr. DaCosta's voice, which made her snicker, probing at the mouth of the canal. She bit their earlobe hard and relished the sudden tensing of their body under hers. She growled again, low and slow and lazy this time, and they let out a piteous whine that was equal parts frightened and horny, a pre-tantrum snivel that sent a filthy thrill of arousal up through her stomach. Kiss me, Daddy. Their voice broke and she let go of their ear and kissed them, a fluttering warning shock of her orgasm growing at the crux of her pelvis just above her cunt. They tasted like greasy takeout and baby powder, like lilacs and sweat and weed and pussy. She forced her tongue into their mouth, choking them for a moment before pulling back and biting down on their plump lower lip. I'm disgusting. Fucking whore, she whispered, letting their lips slip through her teeth, and spat full in their face. She let go of their right wrist and reached down between them to slip a finger between her slick lips. It was coming now, like clawing at an itch she hadn't been able to reach in days. Feather looked up at her with those big soft eyes like a newborn fawn. Spit glistened on their cheek and the labial fold of their nose. They were smiling at her. She wanted to slap them, to scratch their shoulders and their soft little breasts, but she was so close and her whole body was aching for it. She stroked and thrust without restraint at her swollen cunt, her breath coming in choppy little black gasps. A blat of static cut through her oncoming release. Her walkie, crackling somewhere in the heap of discarded clothes at the foot of Feather's bed. She thumbed her clit frantically, biting her lip, but she knew it was gone. Hot frustration bled down through the still tense muscles of her thighs. She blew her hair out of her face, every sensation from the slight chafing on her inner thighs to the tickle of her own hair against the back of her neck suddenly irritating. The walkie crackled again. An older woman's pack-a-day voice fuzzed through the speaker. Central for Lieutenant Pierce. Central for Lieutenant Pierce. Report to City Hall ASAP. Acknowledge. Over. She scrambled off of Feather, kicking them in the hip in her rush to the edge of the bed. Sorry, she hissed, though really she was angry with them. She didn't know why. She dropped to her stomach and fished through her pants until she found the ruggedized black plastic and clicked the PTT. This is Pierce. On my way. Over. Don't keep her waiting. Over and out. Ramona scooted off the edge of the bed. getting her feet under her, stepping into her fatigues and yanking them up without bothering to look for underwear. She was dripping a little, but the dark fabric would hide the worst of it. Sports bra, undershirt, putting her head through an armhole and almost ripping the warm cotton, trying to get it right. Her high felt suddenly like suffocating. Her fingers fumbled with buttons and zippers. She nearly forgot to buckle her gun belt. Feather sighed, rolling over and reaching for the piece and lighter on the stacked milk crates beside the bed. Ramona felt a surge of horny frustration at the sight of their wide, round ass. She wrestled for a moment with the temptation to retrieve the paddle from the closet by the painted-over inner door. It made the most delicious sound against their creamy olive skin. Don't be a fucking idiot. Sorry, she said lamely, feeling suddenly awkward in the doorway of the messy bedroom. Sorry I kicked you. No big, said Feather, shrugging. They held the lighter to the piece's bowl, and the weed inside kindling into reddish embers. They sucked smoke, then let it stream out from their nostrils before pursing their lips to blow a ring. She wanted to hook her fingers in their mouth and yank their head up until they were staring helpless at her, drooling on her hand. But it was over. They'd moved on from the scene, their shoulders relaxing, their manner shifting from bratty panic to an almost lizard-like calm. Ramona picked at her right cuff, teasing a loose thread and telling herself that she didn't want to cry, that this wasn't a big deal, just a fat hooker doing their job. Settle up tomorrow? They smiled, the sunlight coming through the window, and the leaves of the pear tree outside fell in dappled tatters across the goldfish sleeve, tattooed on Feather's left shoulder. Sure, honey. She left by the back stairs, cutting through the apartment's cramped little kitchen and taking the narrow, whitewashed steps two at a time. In the building's deserted first-floor hall, she paused before a water-spotted mirror to center her septum piercing and straighten the collar of her jacket, where embroidered in gold thread the words Maryland Women's Legion 2023 5 stood out bold against the green.
That's freaking sweet. I am going to save the Q&A for a little bit later. But what would you like to tell us about the actual excerpt, Gretchen?
So that excerpt comes about a third of the way through the book after we've met the primary transgender characters who occupy most of the plot and who are moving through northern Massachusetts and southern New Hampshire. And it cuts to Boston and to the ongoing efforts of this paramilitary trans-exclusionary or really, group. It cuts to their efforts to sort of annex Boston and the rest of the East Coast. And Ramona is this sort of conflicted, ambivalent character who's a chaser, but also an officer in this, genocidal occupying force. Yeah. And the first chapter does a soft introduction on her before revealing what exactly she is. So it's sort of my attempt to get close enough to the reader that finding out who and what she is feels like a real sting.
Yeah, legit. I mean, this also reminds me of Rhodes in Day of the Dead.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Yeah, it's like power hungry, sort of like militaristic. But I'm gonna let the readers decide that for themselves. I finally managed to put everyone's bios in the chat. I'm sorry that the chat wasn't behaving very well, so there might be some, duplicate posts. But I want everyone to check out the order links for people's books and. At the Lovecraft Arts and Sciences bookstore, we're going to be carrying these independent authors, and yeah, I mean, this is just a new renaissance. So I am just gonna speak up and move on to Eve. Eve is next.
Hello. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, legit. Yeah, would you like to give us what you got?
Yeah. Well, also thank you so much for putting this on. I really appreciate your efforts, and this is a really special event that you've put together. I'm going to be reading from Transmuted, which is my book that came out recently as a part of the Rewind or Die series. So the Rewind or Die series is kind of like a series of books that has a campy kind of like old VHS feel aesthetic. And they're all standalones. And so this is my entry into the series. I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm just going to read the prologue and part of the first chapter. Prologue. The thing is attempting to speak, pushing air from its lungs, which I enlarged to be 5 times the size of their original human form. My intention was to tune the exhalation tubes that run through its body to play a perfect D minor, and then switch to a C major. It would be an organic pipe organ, a tribute to the quaint church instrument of my youth. But I failed, and instead, it sounds like a leaf blower stuck in the mud. I look down at this contemptible, utter failure. Are you still trying to speak? Perhaps call out for help? It's no use. I've taken away your vocal cords, and there's no one to help you, and you're not quite you anymore, are you, Greg? Surely you must have some idea of what I've done to you. The wretched creature gurgles and produces a high-pitched wheeze, like the air of a balloon let out while pulled taut. Perhaps it wants to see for itself. I wheel my failure to the mirror, the one with the antique frame I purchased in France on my last research trip. Hand-carved, gilt wood, gorgeous, almost a shame for such a thing of beauty to reflect such a travesty. The pathetic lump falls silent as it studies its new form. I can't believe I presented this pile of mistakes to the others. I was too ambitious. The human body can only be transmuted so far, and for my hubris, I ended up with what looks like a trash bag made of pasty human skin, pocked with red chapped blowholes, purple patches of discoloration, a bulbous and drooping cartoon nose, a stretched mouth with lips too heavy for the muscles to lift them, and bulging eyes that cannot close, and the rancid cherry on top, a mound of scraggly brown hair that looks as if a child drew it. The thing is an aesthetic nightmare. It must be filled with horror to see itself, especially with me standing behind it in contrast, perfectly shaped features and flawless skin and all. But that's not horror in its eyes. Perhaps it's sadness, resignation to its fate. And indeed, what should be done with this disaster? Surely it's not worth keeping with the others. It would just remind me of my failure. But I should be reminded. I should look upon this disgrace often, so I will never make such a mistake again. I will display it in my lab next to the others. I unplug the hose connecting the creature to the air compressor, and its body slowly collapses. Squealing comes out of the air holes, creating an off-key chord as the sack of skin deflates and folds in on itself with the stink of flatulence. Next time, I will not fail. Next time, I will create an otherworldly being of indisputable beauty. Next time, they will know my genius. I will be the one to feed the beast. Chapter 1. I move my head from side to side, open my mouth, and raise my eyebrows. The 3D blue-haired anime head on the avatar screen mirrors my movements. I don't really consider anime girls like any sort of transition goals, but it's a free model and it's cute, and I'm not really interested in being a T-Rex or a robot. I don't like showing my face when I stream. My profile picture is a photo, and sure, it's liberally face-tuned and taken at the best possible angle, but it's still technically me, so people know what I look like. sort of. But when I'm on camera, I'm too self-conscious, and it's too distracting to see myself in the corner of the screen while I play. And even though this time I'm not playing anything, I'd rather hide and be an anime girl. After a year of voice training, I sound great, so showing my clockable face would just ruin all that hard work, and a lot of my fans wouldn't see me as a woman anymore, if they do already. But the clockable face, that's today's big topic. I sort of hate this part of streaming, the ask me anything and story time stuff. I'd much rather be immersed playing a game, occasionally looking at the chat and talking to my viewers. Isn't that why they watch? Wouldn't they rather watch me make families to torture in The Sims 3 or waste monsters in Doom? But I promised AMA. I hit the go live button, sending an alert to my followers. My view count climbs. It's 543 now, up to 1,235. I take a breath. 2,530 people are watching. Ever since I did the marathon fundraising streams for my FFS, my follower and view numbers have been much higher, and I'm still not used to it. Hey y'all, it's your girl, Issa. First of all, I want to thank everyone again, to all my subscribers who donated and all the other streamers, H Gunner Guy, Gibbons326, Pink Elenator, who shared my fundraising streams. Thank you so much. I still can't believe we raised $40,000. Along with what I scraped together working at my cafe job, I think it's more than enough to cover my FFS, facial feminization surgery for those who are new here. I donated the extra to other trans crowd funds. I click a button that triggers an animation overlay, and the Final Fantasy VII Victory Fanfare plays. Bum, 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 bum. 3 of my Sims characters twerk under disco lights, and the words, "We did it!" in cheesy 80s font fly in. I make my avatar smile for the camera with crescent anime eyes and shake my head from side to side while giving double peace signs. God, so many positive messages coming in. It's hard to believe. And some not so positive ones too. I click the red button to banhammer a few assholes and do my best to avoid reading their garbage. I already have a shitty voice in my head constantly telling me I'm not a real woman. I don't need a Greek chorus of internet assholes to agree. I'm blanking out. The viewer count is up to 6,421. Jesus, it's never been so high. I swallow and reach for Squeezy, one of those fleshy bowling pin alien stress dolls. I squeeze him under the table and brush my fingertips over his round red eyes and nose. It's the next best anxiety fidget to tweaking my nipple, which isn't stream appropriate. So after being on the wait list for 8 months, I'm finally gonna have my surgery in a week and a half with Dr. Bayard. She's one of the best facial feminization surgeons in LA. She's like an artist. I'm so excited and I'm so grateful. I'm gonna look femme as fuck. A flurry of painted nail emojis flood the chat. I smile and giggle. I guess I owe you an MAA. Go ahead. Ask me almost anything. Lady Gamer Bitch 69. How long's your recovery? Truest egg. Why do you think you deserve this? Sarai 88. You look fine, but I donate anyways because you seem desperate. King Harry Balls. You're hot, lol. Want some fuck? Gimpy. Are you worried that the doctor might make a mistake and fuck up your face? Precious Egg. What's your favorite game? Sissy Boy Loves Pie. Do you think you'd still have dysphoria and want surgery if society accepted trans people as they are? Isn't born in the wrong body a played out narrative perpetuated by cisgender doctors? VTrans 98. Isn't it transphobic to get surgery to look more like a cis woman? Non-passing trans women are women too. Passing is problematic, TBH, like what the fuck? Truest Egg. Dysphoria is problematic if you think about it. God, who are all these people and what are these questions? They aren't my regulars. Maybe they're subscribers of the bigger streamers who promoted me. Randos on Twitter. I tighten my grip around Squeezy. He doesn't mind. How long is my recovery? It's 2 weeks to a month for the major part, depending on the person. It's a pretty big surgery, and I jump when I hear the violent buzz of my phone vibrating against my cheap particle board desk. What's the point of putting it on silent when it makes that horrible noise? A familiar feeling of dread worms throughout my body. None of my friends call me without warning unless it's an emergency. The only person who would do that is Sarah. The screen lights up. It's my sister, like I thought. She only calls when my dad wants something, who I haven't spoken directly to in years. That's my portion.
That's freaking sweet.
Keep reading to find out what happens next.
Yeah, I put Eve's direct link in to Amazon to transmute it in the chat if you scroll up a little bit. That was lovely. Now Eve, we're gonna have a Q&A later. Is there anything really quick that you could tell us about? Oh boy, what you're trying to communicate with this book? You know, I mean, just basically getting it out of your system, because I know a lot of it was. I listened to some of your podcasts, and a lot of it was, written during your recovery from FFS. So it's a big thing. I mean, this body horror, and but it's also, actualization. So
I just I guess the book just kind of is acting as a prism for my experiences around going in for the surgery, and then also the way I see people in the world kind of interact with transness and react to it. And then kind of, fit into this, kind of like fun, wacky story. I think that I'm happy to answer any more questions later.
Oh, well, yeah, I think that'll actually come later, because we're gonna have some audience participation. Hailey is here. Sorry, I'm trying to take over. Hailey, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Absolutely. Yes, please. Would you like to, I'm sorry, I was like a bit remiss in this. Would you like to tell us what you're about to read, and basically what it means to you? And you've got a lot of books out, so just go for it.
Sure. I'm going to be reading from pretty early, like chapter 4 into 5 of Queen of Teeth, my novel that released last summer, which at this point in it, the main character, Yaya, has discovered she has teeth in her vagina. She has been to doctors and out drinking and a bunch of other things that haven't been helpful to her. And she's kind of waking from a state at the moment. So that's where we're going to start. Sudden hammering struck Yaya's chest, her phone vibrating. She sat up and answered quick. Hello? Yolanda Betancourt, this is an important reminder, a robotic voice said. ABP again. Your next mandatory checkup tomorrow, I know. She shook the phone. They'd surprised her, and for nothing. Today, November 12th at 11:15, she yanked the phone from her head and read the screen. Today, but last night was Saturday. Had she slept all through Sunday, or had she stayed too plastered through her day off to remember? A new fog had taken over, much stronger than Friday night's half-drunken haze. ABP expected her at the SIB station today, despite having missed Sunday. Yesterday was laundry day, too. She still wore her shoes and lavender suit, and she didn't feel like changing before heading to the dirty SIB station. She didn't feel like going at all. If ABP had caused her vaginal situation, maybe they could fix it, but how could she trust them? Her phone chirped. Alpha Beta Pharmaceutical, making your world a better place. Fuck you. She slapped the phone down on her nightstand. Her hand lingered over the top drawer, where her purple battery-powered Friday night alternatives offered temporary relief, but she wasn't sure if her extra teeth might slide out and damage it. Not worth the risk. The best gift she could give herself was to stay in bed. She hadn't missed a SIBS checkup since she was 12. Nearly 2 decades of perfect monthly attendance had to afford a little leeway. Her eyelids sank. Maybe her body planned to grow more teeth and needed to shut down every other process to make it happen. She already had the day scheduled off from Jumpies for her SIBS checkup. Why bother with either? Why not sleep? The sky grayed. She felt it at brief moments of wakefulness, but she didn't fully open her eyes until early evening dimmed the windows, when her door snapped open on squealy hinges. There were people in her apartment. She sat up fast and faced a rubbery gas mask. A man's tired eyes watched behind thick glass portholes. He wore a yellow suit with black rubber gloves and matching boots, and he seemed to fill the world. A scream caught in Yaya's throat as she scrambled off the bed and made to run, but the man caught her arm and thrust her into the love seat in one smooth twist. She couldn't make herself stand. "This good enough?" the man asked. His voice came clear despite the gas mask. Another man in a similar suit stood behind him and tapped at a phone. A third hazard suit carried a black bag by the door. "It's fine," she said, her tone pert. Yaya knew that voice. She'd heard it honey-coated inside Pandora's aquarium on Friday night. She'd heard it sink into moans. "Doc?" Doc froze as if trying to avoid being seen, and then pulled her gas mask off and let the yellow hood down. Her eyes were so pale blue that they bordered white, and a thin grimace crossed her ashen face. She looked so alien in this disgusting yellow shade, Yaya might have blamed any resemblance on Friday's tipsy fog, if not for those pale eyes. "It's fine," Doc said, her voice like taut sinew. She turned to the gas mask man who was still playing on his phone. "Confirm subject's identity," as if she didn't already know. Maybe she'd had enough to drink Friday that she couldn't remember, except Yaya had that text message. "Pulling the East Newark Medical Station record now, Doc," phone boy said. Yaya's SIBS station. That meant these goons worked for Alpha Beta Pharmaceutical. Doc was one of them. Yaya settled into the love seat cushion and turned to Doc. They knew each other. Yaya could charm her way out. "Okay, I get it," she said. "I missed my appointment. You could have called." Doc glanced at the other goons as if she knew a secret. Phone boy tapped his screen and it flashed blue beneath his mask. 100% match. Yolanda Betancourt, born on Long Island, New York, white female, black hair, complete heterochromia with one blue, one hazel, 5 feet, 5 inches, 150 pounds. "Write me up an online dating profile, why don't you?" Yaya snapped. "I've heard enough. Let's not make this more awkward than it has to be." Doc snapped her fingers. "Strip from the waist down." Yaya blinked. "What the hell for?" "Pelvic exam." "I won't make this less awkward." Yaya didn't move. "You examined my pelvis pretty thoroughly Friday night." Phone boy and tough guy glanced at Doc, whose scowl sank into her face. She rooted inside her bag and drew out a pair of narrow silver scissors, the blades pinched into a mean point. "Hold her down," she said. Tough guy stepped around the love seat, grabbed Yaya's arms and pulled them back. She strained against his grip, but he was stronger. Doc slipped between bed and love seat, scissors gleaming in the gray light. Tough guy's breath chugged through his gas mask. "Kid, quit fighting. You've been seeing us your entire life. Since I was a tween," Yaya cut in, "and we know you better than you know yourself." "Doing anything fun with that?" Doc opened the scissors. "We're making your world a better place. Just try to relax. Tell me the last dream you remember." The squirming tore through Yaya's middle, same as at Sunnyside Fertility. "Hands off me," she coughed. "I'm saying no. No permission. I have rights." "Read her rights," tough guy said. "Oh, sure." Phone boy scrolled through his phone screen. "Yolanda Betancourt, under the 00 virus congressional settlement, all chimera designate genetic data is the partial property of Alpha Beta Pharmaceutical. Truancy from your scheduled mandatory appointment deprives corporate representatives of their due right to inspect the continued viability of registered intellectual property." He sounded proud of himself, proud of what they were doing. Yaya twisted from the hunting scissor blades. "It's my body," she shouted. Tears slid down her cheeks. For some reason, she hated APP for that more than anything. Doc never looked at Yaya while she bent over the love seat, her eyes aimed only at her silvery scissors. She wasn't going to stop. Her mind had stuffed their weekend encounter into a drawer somewhere. Yaya was only company property now. She swallowed hard. Her dignity tasted acidic. "Can we at least do this in private?" she asked. "Please?" Doc paused. Her scissors snipped air, and she stood up straight. "Privacy. Like in the SIBS station." Yaya's eyes pleaded. "Like Friday night." The light shifted in Doc's eyes, protocol and familiarity tipping the scales. She snapped her fingers. "Bathroom." Tough guy let go of Yaya's arms. They slid boneless down the love seat. Doc's scissors aimed at the bathroom doorway, bag at her side. She blocked the front door so Yaya couldn't rush into the hall and escape. Per protocol, phone boy said. Doc, considering your personal history, your handling this might be inappropriate. Doc stared at him, considering. Yaya looked to her with wide eyes, desperate for one more scrap of mercy. She needed Doc to repeat for phone boy that it was fine if she examined Yaya and that if he had a problem, he knew where to shove his phone. But Doc's sympathy had run dry. She was at work, and Yaya was a chimera. Doc aimed her scissors at Tough Guy and held out her bag. Aziz, she said. He approached, took bag and scissors, and opened the bathroom door. Yaya thought of kicking Doc on the way into the bathroom, but lashing out wouldn't help, and the kick wouldn't be that strong anyway. She slipped into the bathroom, the sink cluttered with bottles of lotion and leave-in conditioner. I don't know how you can poke around in there like it's nothing, phone boy said. Because nothing's all it is, you troglodyte, Aziz said, following Yaya inside and closing the door. Yaya wanted to retort, but her tongue fizzled. She needed a second wind that wasn't coming and collapsed onto the toilet lid. Aziz loomed, bag in one gloved hand, scissors in the other, an unspoken threat that they were behind a closed door by protocol, nothing more. Now he waited for Yaya to undress as if it were nothing. She took a deep breath. Do you know what's wrong? Aziz set down Doc's bag with a leathery clunk. His gas mag huffed impatience. This is important like you've no idea, he said. Should have shown up, but now we do it here. Faster. Yaya's snug lavender pants slid off her hips and crumpled around her ankles. She wished Doc were here. She might have dropped the cold, mad scientist act and quit pretending they were strangers. Aziz's shoulders relaxed and he knelt in front of Yaya. Yaya pressed her back to the toilet tank. Her underwear slid down her thighs, the pad clear. Fastest menstrual cycle in her life, her skin chilled. Can you help me? She asked. Can't say. Aziz drew a speculum from the bag and tore off its plastic wrap. Should we help you? If you made the mess, yes. The whole you break it, you bought it code is why you even have the SID stations. Muscles turned to tight ropes beneath Yaya's skin from head to toe, and especially in private places between. Calm down, Aziz said. He couldn't understand. This would never happen to him. Beginning procedure. Yaya thought to make another comment, but her teeth clamped down on her lower lip. She was in enough trouble already. The speculum reached closer. Yaya stared down at Aziz's gas mask, bathroom light reflecting off its eyeglass. She tried not to flinch, but the speculum was cold. Enhanced muscle growth, Aziz said. Different. Yaya opened her mouth to mention doing her Kegels, but she realized she'd already made that joke to Ruby Carr. Instead, she whispered, I'm scared, okay? I admit it. Can we talk about this? The speculum pressed harder. Discomfort burst into sharp pain. A little bedside manner, please? Aziz stuck to his task, even as a vibration climbed Yaya's spine. It almost sounded like a word in her head, but she couldn't quite make it out. Aziz grunted. Teeth, again. Yaya swallowed. Again. Had this happened to others? The question squirmed through her guts, and a violent pulse raced down every muscle. Stop, she hissed. Aziz ignored her. Fully formed, almost bone surrounding. What had Ruby said at the clinic? Jawbone. Squirming muscles spilled through Yaya's center, a cramp to end worlds. Aziz flinched back as a toothy red coil shot past Yaya's labia, out between her legs and twisted around his neck. It tightened faster than he could cry out. He grabbed the coil in his free hand. Yaya felt it. Her nerves knew the rubber of Aziz's crinkling suit, the fragility of his bones. She started to shout, but what to say? Help? Stop? A big mouth all her life, and now her voice faltered the moment she needed it most. Another surge pushed out from between her legs. New fleshy coils blossomed, petals to a toothy flower. It snapped cobra-like toward Aziz's gas mask, a stalk of magenta-colored muscle, harsh jaws, and pearly teeth. Stop, Yaya hissed. Another vibration shot up her spine, and this time it did sound like a word. Scared. Aziz's limbs went slack. The speculum clattered to the tile floor. Two coils lashed up Yaya's body, where one caught around the hem of her suit jacket. The other reached past her chest and slammed against her throat. A fist beat at the bathroom door, but Yaya couldn't answer. Part of her body was turning into a dangerous animal, and if the ABP coons knocked down the door, they wouldn't make any distinctions between her and what had burst from her flesh. Scared, the voice said again, a subtle hum. Yaya grasped the coil at her neck. It wriggled wetly, and its toothy spines bit into her palm. How had they rushed out of her vagina without ripping her to shreds? They might tear her up on re-entry. She couldn't give them the chance. She doubled over, too close to the mouth stalk. Her fingertips prodded the floor. Cold tile, damp bathroom rug, useless speculum. There, the scissors. Scared? Yaya didn't have time to loop her fingers through steel. She clutched the blades in a rising fist and then slammed down into the fleshy coil at her neck. It tore loose from her throat. Pain lashed up her body in a blinding shriek, as if she'd stabbed the scissor blades through one of her fingers. The other coils sprang loose from her body and Aziz's neck. They folded protectively around the magenta mouth stalk, and before Yaya could brace herself for spines to rake tender flesh, the muscular mass slipped inside her. A not unpleasant tremor slid through her nerves. Another fist pounded the bathroom door. Aziz? That was Doc. Yaya? Aziz lay crumpled on his side, jagged holes dotting his suit's neck. Had the monster teeth bit him? Yaya hadn't noticed. She'd been too busy fighting for her own life. The doorknob jiggled and the fist turned angry. Open up, Doc said. Angry ABP goons outside the door, a threat both familiar and very real. If they took her, there would be no charming her way into a bathroom this time. Yaya gritted her teeth and pulled up her pants. Her purse was on the couch, phone on the nightstand. The rest of her apartment stood on another planet right now, and she was here. She tucked the bloody scissors into her jacket's pocket and shoved open the window. It faced the street, a free drop, the building's fire escape climbing outside the studio's main window. No time to think. She clambered onto the toilet, put her legs through the window, and slid over the sill and down the brick. She would try to roll into it. Her right leg gave a painful crack when she hit the concrete.
I'm sorry, my space bar is not quite working. You're all great readers. I absolutely love this. This means a lot to me because, well, you know, trans reading, trans horror, and you know, I would actually I guess my first question of each of you would be whether it was one movie or one book or one piece of art that you saw or even song convinced you to write. You know, what did we do next? Why don't we go in order of the readers, actually? So that would be Gretchen first.
Right. So the question is, what piece of art inspired me to write?
Yeah, I mean, I've done enough research to know that, you know, Books of Blood, you know, was really hardcore. And was there anything that really galvanized?
I think the big ones for me were Finding Black as the Color by Julia Graffair, who's actually in the chat here, my best friend, and Jacqueline S., Her Will and Testament, and then In the Hills, the Cities. Both of those second two are from Clive Barker's Books of Blood. And reading those as a teenager and then coming to Julia's work as an adult and seeing that someone was really making something that was beautiful and personal and unrelentingly just unpleasant and grim. Grim isn't quite the right word, but sad, fucking miserable. It really let me feel like I could play with those paints too, that I had something to say.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, the entire Books of Blood, we're talking about all 6 volumes. Those were game changers. They really, truly were.
Yep.
Those are maybe your 2 favorite stories? Definitely. Yeah. Because, I mean, they're the most queer. And I actually also like, it wasn't the Forbidden, because that's Candyman. Or is it? The one with cool. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name of it, but anyway, Books of Blood. Yeah, everyone should read it. That would make Eve Harms. What's next? You know, what formed your philosophy in writing?
So I've I guess growing up, I wasn't as much of a horror reader. I was like writing stories since I was a little kid. And in my more formative years of a reader, I was really into like Philip K. Dick and Kurt Vonnegut. And then what really got me really excited about horror and like weird fiction was The Secret of Ventriloquism by John Padgett. And it's just a book that just profoundly altered my consciousness as I read it. And it was an experience I just desperately needed at that time. And it's just so imaginative and unique and strange. So I really enjoyed that. And then the other book that really kind of made me excited about horror was Misery by Stephen King. I was like reading that, like walking down the street and like running into things, like, because I just couldn't put it down, you know, like. So those are the two books that in my more recent life as a reader that really kind of affected me.
Yeah, I read Misery in high school. If that is an indication of how messed up I was. So please continue. I'm sorry.
Oh, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, those are the books that kind of had me come around to. I've always loved horror as a genre, but I was more watching films. But after reading those two, I just got hooked on the genre and just kept reading and decided I wanted to contribute.
Sweet. Hailey's turn.
Well, I think when I was younger, a big influence I kind of forget to mention in a lot of things was reading things like Real Encounters with Bigfoot or real life alien abductions. And I think those kind of were the big things to make me really want to tell stories, even though I believed them at the time. Later, it was Stephen King again with It when I was a teenager. That was kind of just like, oh, you don't have to just tell this stuff. You can also write it down and make people feel things through that too. And then as an adult, Ramsey Campbell, Clive Barker, people who were around when I was younger, but I just didn't find them. And I think one of the big ones, again, that I don't really mention is Krista Carmen with Something Borrowed, Something Blood-Soaked. The honesty of that really was just like a slap in the face that just kind of woke me up to like, oh, you don't have to tell these just to please people. You can also tell all the things inside you that they might not want to hear or might not realize that they should hear. So that was, that would be the big things for me, I think.
That's great. Okay, my next question for me personally. Oh boy, can we address the elephant in the room? What would you like to see in horror literature? Oh boy, I'm just gonna just try to address this. Not delicately, but do you think trans women belong in horror? I mean, what are we doing here? What do you want to see? I mean, because we are also addressing the pushback, and like, oh, this is just social justice. You know, I mean, come on. We know body horror, and we know societal horror more than anyone. I'm sorry I'm not very erudite in this, but I mean, we are the new generation, but we are also white. What do we do next? What's next? What can we do better?
I think he just said it. I'd like to see trans women of color making, you know, appearances in horror. I've not, you know, I think that'd be a next step, really. Like, I don't know if maybe I wasn't supposed to answer next.
No, this is open-ended.
Oh, okay. I was just like, oh crap, I just cut in line.
Hey,
no, you're completely right. That needs to have happened yesterday.
Yep.
It is sort of a stain on the opportunities we've been afforded. I think unavoidably so. And I don't know what else I can say about it, because I don't want to sit here patting myself on the back for having the right beliefs about how trans women of color should have the opportunities that I've had. That's what I think. I think that as white trans women who've managed to get our feet through the door, we should be recommending and forwarding the trans women of color that we know and getting them into the orbit of people who can give them money and materially improve their lives.
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
But to address whether or not trans women belong in horror, the next decade in this genre at a bare minimum belongs to us. No one's going to touch what we do.
Hell fucking yeah.
It's you know, when we consider you know, what is the 21st century for weird fiction, you know, horror fiction, genre fiction, any, you know, romance, you know, if we want to like write for you know, the pulse, you know. Oh, it's crazy. So I actually did some have some questions from outside for Hailey. What do you think about cosmic horror and how they intersect with personal horror?
I mean, it depends how you approach it, of course. I feel like I just read an article about that, and now I can't recall it. I wish I could remember. Where I think it was by Joe Koch, and they had written how while I think in the, I may be completely off from my memory about it, but I think they had written that cosmic horror, without meaning to, was kind of an exploration of the personal, in the sense that you're kind of purposely creating distance. Even though it seems like it's completely disconnected, it actually is a commentary on it just by by acting separate. You're making that choice. It is almost an escape from body. I could be completely remiss remembering, but that's the impression I had gotten. That's like what's sticking in my head. And I agree. I think that you can address the personal by the absence, or you can make it direct, which is kind of how I want to approach it, because well, I mean, you know, when we're looking at horror, a lot of this stuff coming from it is a matter of the personal. We are dissecting things. We are, you know, looking at things, and cosmic horror can do that too, just like any other horror. Yeah, I think that's the best answer I can give for that.
No, I mean, that's absolutely wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful. I mean, because that's how you relate to your audience. Absolutely. But write for yourself. Write for yourself.
Right.
Yeah. Big time. Big time. My next question would be for Eve. Let's see. Body horror. I mean, how does that like play into your work as like, you know, a book writer and also a zine maker? I mean, because I also know that, oh geez, I don't know if it's okay to say this online, but a lot of people have been like stealing your mail. Like, what if you, I mean, like, isn't that, you know, body horror as it relates to Transmuted, you know, not just from your FFS surgery, but, you know, navigating the world.
Well, my zines are like pretty wholesome. They're not very horror-esque at all. Not that I'm not ever going to do that. I'd love to. And one's kind of creepy, but they don't have much to do with body horror at all.
Right.
But as for my book and my life, the thing, you know, in my experience of transitioning is everything comes with a trade-off. You know, there's changes, and sometimes you like the change, and sometimes, you know, there's aspects of it you don't like, or it causes a side effect or another issue. And then there's also the body horror of aging in the wrong sex, I'll say. I detransitioned. I lived as a woman for like 6 months after college. And I actually didn't start medically transition, but I had socially transitioned, because back then you had to like live in your preferred gender for a year. But I ended up detransitioning, and after that, you know, I didn't feel different. I just didn't think I was capable. And in my head, I was like, well, I probably won't kill myself, so I guess I won't do this. You know, I'll be, you know, I'll survive this, even though I'll be miserable. So over the course of, you know, my mid-20s to into my mid-30s, you know, I saw myself age, and I remember, you know, I started to bald, and that's the most extreme body horror for me. And then there's the surgery I had. The recovery is very brutal. So that was definitely a source of personal body horror as well. I don't know. I guess I'm just talking about the horrors of my life. I don't know if I must be off track, but I put them in the book, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, I heard that. I really hear that, because it's a really painful experience. And what I would also like to ask Gretchen is, well, I'm sorry, but my camera just fell over, so I'm just using myself as like, you know, a selfie thing. Gretchen, what would you like to oh geez, you know, there's you when you had your cover reveal, what the hell was that? No one had ever, like, you know, read a word of your work, you know. What would you like to see? Honestly, what would you like to see in Translit moving forward?
Well, I actually had self-published a good deal of fiction before
Yeah.
my cover dropped, and I had also been a film critic for several years, so it wasn't, you know, a complete system shock. What would I like to see in trans horror moving forward? Just go harder. Go absolutely as hard as you can. Do exactly what you want. And as I already said, I want to see the stories that trans women of color have to tell, not just the stories about being a trans woman of color, but the stories that they want to tell specifically. I'm also going to recommend here that everyone follows the writing and Twitter presence of Octavia St. Germain, who's a really, really, really intelligent and talented trans woman writer from Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. I think her Twitter @ is Shrimp Wonder, all one word. Mostly I want to see 10 times as many of us here next year.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And not just the white of us.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have another quick question for Gretchen. Hellraiser 1 or 2?
Sorry?
Hellraiser 1 or 2? Hellbound.
That is a really profoundly difficult question to answer at a spiritual level.
Sorry.
Think at the end of the day,
for everybody, honestly.
I think it has to be Hellraiser 2. You know, it's the story of two extremely fucked up women cheating the devil, and it's also mine and my friend Julia's one of our favorite movies. We've watched it together a bunch. I just can't think of anything that I love more than Hellraiser 2.
Well, you know, Dr. Chenard and nothing personal, babe, you know. Oh, geez. Well, also, they had the documentary. It's like British. I have never seen it all the way through, but I think it's...
Leviathan Speaks. Yeah.
Leviathan. Thank you. Probably on Shudder somewhere.
I believe it is.
Yes. Yeah, just like shenanigans. Okay. Hailey, what movie, if any, drew you in? Like, what? This is horror, you know?
I mean, I've been watching monsters as long as I can remember, different things of, you know, anything I could get my hands on. I think the first brush with adult horror was really sunk me forever, though. I was 5 years old, and my dad was supposed to be bringing home a record off the TV tape of Trolls. And it was not Trolls, it was The Unnameable, based on a Lovecraft story. It was a hard R movie with like nude scenes and people getting their heads chopped off. And he did not see that was what we were watching. He put it on and went to take a shower. And so he comes out, and my sister, who was 4, and I were both like freaked the hell out. But I couldn't stop thinking about it, even though I was having nightmares and stuff after that point. And yeah, I think that was just, it's not the best movie, but it's definitely like, it's important to me for that reason.
That's sweet. Eve, do you have anything to contribute to that? Like any actual, I mean, we're talking about films now.
Film-wise, well, my brother worked at a video store just down the street from our house. And so, I mean, I just kind of fondly remember like Evil Dead and The Thing and Dead Alive, like all the early Peter Jackson stuff. It's a lot of fun. Bad Taste.
Yeah. Meet the Feebles.
Meet the Feebles, yes. Oh my God.
got
It's
long
amazing
legs.
that he ended up directing Lord of the Rings after that. I know,
Sorry.
like I was like,
Just
what
had to
the
put
hell?
it in there.
Yeah. And yeah, I think like in terms of my work, influence wise, I would say just David Lynch is just like a huge influence for me. The way he uses watching his films feels very much like true to reality to me. Like it's just like there's the sense of dread, there's a surreality, there's humor and like kind of like an earnest cheesiness, and there's just these moments of just intense beauty, which is something I hope to somehow one day capture in my writing. But I love just all like the palette he paints with is I like that palette. I like how he touches all those things.
I like that too because he also captures like bleakness. I have not seen Inland Empire yet because that seems like House of Leaves. I think when I hear you say that, Blue Velvet, like, oh, it's a strange world, the bug in the bird's mouth. All right, so I think I have, been enough of an idiot tonight. So I think we need to open up to other people because that would be actually really beautiful. And Catherine is first in line. Thank you. Unmute.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yep.
We can hear you. Yes. Thank you.
I was a little bright earlier, so I tried to like give myself some mood lighting. I have a question for Gretchen. My question is if it is true that that Ramona can get fucked forever. And serious question is, can you talk a little bit more about what led you to including a character like her specifically with her kind of arc in your story?
Yeah. So to the first part of your question, yes, absolutely. I feel that way personally, as much as I have empathy for Ramona as a person. As to where she comes from and why I wanted to include that viewpoint, I thought it was necessary to show TERFs in this kind of understandable light as people who aren't necessarily fanatics, people who are taking the path of least resistance and who don't really have ordering principles, people who do not stand up for the people that they love or the things that they believe. Basically moral cowards who might be willing to commit things we would think of as physically brave acts, like being a soldier. There's an old quote, I can't remember who it was by, but it's about Hermann Goering and how he climbed the ranks during the First World War. And someone said that he had the cheap physical courage of someone with no real beliefs. You're willing to commit violence in the name of whatever structures your world. And that's a cowardly way to exist, in my opinion. But the real specific reason that I included Ramona was that I was so intensely sick of genre stories where the Nazi gets hugged until they turn good. It just makes me furious whenever I see it. I was raised in part by an older woman who had numbers tattooed on her arm from Auschwitz. And when I think of someone saying that the onus of being kind to the people who tattooed them there should have been on her. No, you don't get a hug, you get a bullet.
Yeah.
That's fucking beautiful. That's what I love about your work, Gretchen.
Thank you.
Do we have any more Q&A? Don't be shy. Anyone? This is a very special occasion because trans horror. Gretchen, how does Jackie S reach you?
I'm not sure entirely what you mean.
Well, I mean, the books of blood are really hit or miss for me because, I mean, like, even like, what is it? How Spoilers Bleed affected me the most. Maybe it was because, I was all, social justice in like high school, but, and then Human Remains is about sex work. Was there any one story that like, really drew you in? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I've got an answer for you. I think the story that most immediately compelled me was the life and testament of Jacqueline S.
Yeah.
Because, and I don't have any real desire to go into specifics, but I've been through a good deal of various kinds of abuse in my life, and the idea that all of the passive, violent ideation towards yourself and others that inevitably manifests under those conditions could externalize, could affect the world around you, could really crush a man into a cube the size of a briefcase.
That is a suitcase.
Right. It is tremendously emotionally powerful. And it really pulled me into the world of that book.
All right. Hailey, was there anything that drew you in and for horror books, not movies, but said, I need to do this?
Well, I'd mentioned Stephen King's It earlier as kind of like a beginning, like, oh, you can do this way. My mom, at first not letting me, and then eventually just letting me read her Dean Koontz books. That was like early stuff. But later it was, I mean, really, I think the indie horror scene has really just provided a lot of perspective, I think is the best word, like because if you're just reading the stuff that you can get off of in the grocery store, you're not really getting the breadth of horror. But I think the indie scene has really had really opened my eyes to just not only the stuff that you could write, but also just all the great stuff you could read, and just all of your books, Larissa, Eve, and Gretchen, have been amazing experiences. And just, I've honestly, I don't know where my head would be if it wasn't for indie horror, really.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah, legit.
It makes you feel a little less like crazy when you see that there's other people who are, doing something similar, experiencing the world at least somewhat similar to the way you are.
Well, ladies, that's the entire freaking point of this reading. I wanted to bring you all together because this is really important to me. This is really fucking important to Eve, what drew you in? What made you, what galvanized you?
Oh, well, I did mention about the secret of ventriloquism.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, in terms of galvanized me to write horror specifically, or just to write or put my story out?
Just your your path as an artist. That's what I want.
Well, okay. You know, I have to say before, well, I have to say, like, Gretchen has helped me so much. Like, I just have to say before, like, I kind of witnessed Gretchen doing her thing, and I did reach out to her when I was just a humble reply girl. It was like, how the fuck do I write? How do I write about being trans? Like, I'm afraid, basically. And Gretchen said, you just have to do it, basically. You know, like, and she was very compassionate about it too.
You fucking nailed it, Eve. You are so incredible. I've been waiting for tonight to tell you that I finished Transmuted.
Oh.
And I thought it was fucking great. It was like
really?
Going to the theater and seeing Reanimator for the first time.
Yes.
But it was like made by my friend.
Oh my God, you're gonna make me cry.
Aww.
You're so talented and I'm so proud of you.
Oh my God, Gretchen!
Hey, you know what? That's the point of this fucking reading. So I want
but seriously, like, I when I first came into indie horror, I was failing miserably at trying to do something more commercial. I'm just not capable of it. I don't even know I bothered to try. And I wasn't telling my story, also because I was closeted when I first started writing. And I'm not, I still like the series I wrote, but it's not queer, you know, it's not as, it gets kind of queer, but I really kind of, watching all these other amazing, you know, writers and the encouragement from Gretchen and seeing her just be, you know, just doing her thing is, I don't know, like, I'm still kind of opening up, and I'm just really grateful to be a part of this scene. And I really do think that, you know, this is our decade, you know. Yes. Trans horror is just it's gonna be everywhere. You will not be able to escape us.
Well, okay. I suppose that would be my next question. Unless anyone else in the audience has anything, what would you like to see in trans horror over the next decade? Fucking A. What would you like to see?
I mean, I think Gretchen had said it best earlier. It's just that, like, anything and everything. I think that the best thing to do with what's next is to just go fearlessly, write your heart into it. I'm trying to merge two things here together. Eve, what you had said about, like, commercial stuff, I think the heart of it really is that the established kind of commercial situation is not going to be something we can write our hearts into and mold ourselves to. It all we can do is kind of what Gretchen's really been doing with Manhunt, is just punching through that barrier. Be like, no, this is what reality is in this, you know, completely fictional thing we're writing. It's this truth, and this is what has to be out there because this is what we're writing, and this is the future of weird fiction. This is what needs to be there. That's how I see it. It has to exist purely as what it is. I don't see how it can be molded into a commercial thing. I think commercial is going to have to either mold to it, or it's just going to have to be something against it.
Sweet. Do you have anything to say about that?
I think that I covered what I wanted to about this topic earlier when I mentioned Octavia St. Germain and what I'd like to see next year. When
can I address the elephant in the room? Because we only have 8 minutes left. Not censorship from within, but censorship from without. I was really troubled. I mean, I've had negative reviews of my own book on Amazon, but for its sexual content. But oh boy, how do we address how people who are not trans addressing a trans narrative, not just with the blowback against the, Gretchen's, her reveal on Twitter, but also Isabel Fall. What is this moralism from people who have never read a single word or lived a single moment of what we are?
Well, I think in part that these sentiments do often come from our fellow trans people, and sometimes from our fellow trans women. We're all very sensitive at certain times in our lives. I remember right after I came out, it was very easy for me to feel attacked and targeted and afraid that something would sort of rupture the membrane of the new identity that I was building. And I think that to a certain extent, we have to be patient with that and just assume that they'll grow out of it. Beyond that, my advice for anyone who comes into contact with this kind of vitriol, this sort of assumption that anything you're doing as a trans woman that causes discomfort in a reader is therefore necessarily malicious and dangerous, ignore it. Let them blow themselves out. They have nothing of value to bring to the discussion. They lack the critical reading skills needed to have any kind of substantive relationship to the material. Block them and move on. They are inconsequential. And I think that by giving them the dignity of debate, you only legitimize them.
Right. Not to put anyone on the spot, but does anyone else have anything to contribute? Because we only got about 5 minutes left, generously. So.
Yeah, I think you kind of, I hate to say it because I do think that there is a desire, at least for me, to kind of just be, I don't want to have to be a wall, but you kind of have to be a wall. People, even if the best intentions with thinking they're being supportive, somebody can say the most brainless stuff, thinking that it is, I'm helping, I'm being a good ally. And the fact is that's not going to happen. And you do just have to kind of blow past and ignore it and be someone who's not just going to vanish, be someone who's not, Gretchen put it perfect. I think you had a tweet where it was like, you unfortunately, sometimes you have to be a cockroach where you're just not going to be, you can't be extinguished.
Yeah, you mentioned Isabel Fall, Larissa, and that comes up a lot in discussions of intra-community queer violence and harassment, and rightly so. But I think that what Isabel faced is not actually exceptional. I think that
Right.
many, many trans women who make anything objectionable in their art face that exact blowback. And it is imperative, first, that those of us who can
Yes.
focus on being tough. And
Well,
second, that we protect the people who do not have that capability, because they deserve to tell their stories too. And I would very much like to see what soft and socially delicate trans women have to say, as well as loud cunts like me.
Well, I mean, that's also what happened with Tori about 5 years ago. So
yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be objectionable for people to freak out.
No, it doesn't.
It can be incredibly tame.
But you didn't do it right.
Right.
Yeah. Oh.
It's all just a smokescreen for boilerplate trans misogyny.
Big time.
There's nothing very interesting about it. Yeah.
All right, ladies, we're about to. I mean, I have like 2 minutes left in my my queue here. If anyone wants to save chat, please scroll up and see everyone's order links. And this is really important to me. I hope we all get to see each other in person at some point.
Me too.
And I can't thank you enough. This is excellent. And oh geez, let's rip the world a new asshole because that's what needs to happen. This is fucking beautiful.
That sounds really good to me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for hosting everything, Larissa.
Oh,
thank you so much.
I am honored to have the three of you. I love you. And let's continue. I mean, the conversation, hopefully let's continue it. Let's have it. Yes. All right. I'm sorry I didn't get to show my bunnies, but.
Oh.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right. Good night.
Thanks again.
Love you.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. Be good.
Good night.
Love you.
Love
All
you.
right, be good.